Chuck Todd is NBC's political director and moderator of Meet the Press. Chuck, good morning. It's good to see you. So back to Israel and Hamas. President Biden saying, of course, what you would expect an American president to say, which is that Israel has the right to defend itself, which of course it does. But is he feeling increasing pressure? What is your sense from progressives in his own party who want him to at least come out and criticize Israel, its government, its military a bit here? What role does he have to play?
Well, look, I think number one is there's no country that supposedly has more influence over the Israeli government than the United States. So in that sense, he has got to be if there's an attempt here at a ceasefire, if the Egyptians are the lifeline to talk to Hamas, the United States is obviously key to dealing with the Israeli side of this. So that's number one. Look, I think that President Biden made it clear he didn't want to proactively get drawn into the Middle East, but as the Middle East will tend to do with American presidents, if you don't want to pay attention to it, the Middle East will make sure it will pay attention to you. So in this sense, yes. I do think you're right that the left is sort of putting more pressure in general on American policies toward Israel, but I would argue that pressure has been building over the last decade, and I certainly think there's clearly a divide in the Democratic Party. But look, the real concern I have about this, Willie, is the fact that you have a political vacuums among the Palestinians that Hamas is trying to fill, and among Israelis that Bibi Netanyahu is trying to fill because he sees an opportunity here possibly to save himself politically. And I think that's what makes this situation, I think, that much scarier, because the political incentives for Hamas and Netanyahu may not align with ceasefire.
Yeah, politically good for both sides. Chuck, let's talk about some more domestic politics here and what's going on inside the Republican Party. This week made official what we all knew it was coming. Liz Cheney ousted from her position as GOP leadership chair. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik of New York taking that role and stepping up to a bank of microphones and within seconds thanking Donald Trump, saying he is the leader of our party. So what does this now officially tell you about where the Republican Party is headed, what kind of candidates it's going to recruit, and who it's going to be going forward?
Well, it's interesting. Let me pick up on the part where candidates it's going to recruit. Because here's obviously the leadership of the Republican Party made the decision in Washington that they had to rally around Trump in some way. Kevin McCarthy, in Liz Cheney's words, essentially resuscitating Trump from political death almost after January 6th. But what's interesting is that even though Trump is now defining the party, there's still pockets of the party that are trying to deny Trump-like candidates, right? In Missouri, they're trying to change the rules to prevent a very Trumpy Republican who's got a little bit of baggage from getting a nomination. In Virginia, they created a convoluted convention system. It worked. They prevented a Trump-like candidate from getting there. So the party is sort of in this weird, on one hand, they're publicly saying, we're with Trump. They clearly don't want to be, but they're afraid of standing up to him. And, I don't know how they ever get Trump behind them if they keep having this debate.
Yeah, it appears they don't really want him behind him, at least publicly. I know you'll talk much more about this morning. Chuck, thanks so much. Great to see you. We will look for more on Meet the Press when Chuck is joined also by CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.